Hey there, nostalgia junkies and cartoon connoisseurs. Welcome back to GenX Countdown, where we dig up the pop culture relics you didn't even know you missed. I'm Steve, your guide to the wonderfully weird world of yesteryear's entertainment. As a proud member of Generation X, I've seen my fair share of animated oddities, but nothing compares to the late 1970s lineup from Hanna Barbera. Today we're diving headfirst into the animated rabbit hole to unearth 6 of the most bizarre, delightful, and downright head-scratching cartoons from Hanna-Barbera's late 70s era. From robotic canines to prehistoric detectives, from anthropomorphic bears with CB radios to shape-shifting blobs, these shows were the epitome of what were they thinking. So if you're still here, this video was definitely made for you. Subscribe and let's get this nostalgia train rolling.
I'm Michael Jordan. McDonald's restaurants have given me this time to talk to you about something.
Flashing through the sky, he's a go-go guy.
If Batman had a mechanical mutt with more glitches than gadgets, you'd get Dynomutt Dog Wonder. This 1976 series introduced us to the Blue Falcon, a superhero so straight-laced he made Boy Scouts look rebellious, and his sidekick Dynomutt, a robotic dog whose heart was in the right place even if his circuits weren't. Dynomutt was essentially a walking Swiss Army knife, capable of producing an array of mechanical devices from his body. The catch was they rarely worked as intended, leading to slapstick mishaps and left Blue Falcon face-palming more than not. It was like watching a buddy cop movie where one partner is a bumbling robot dog that just couldn't get it right. The show was part of the Scooby-Doo Dynomutt Hour, meaning it shared airtime with the more competent Mystery Incorporated gang. This crossover led to some memorable team-ups, further blurring the lines of Hanna-Barbera's interconnected universe. Culturally, Dynomutt reflected the era's fascination with technology and superheroes, albeit with a comedic twist. While it only lasted a season, the character left a lasting impression, making cameo appearances in later series and reboots. Dynomutt's voice actor, Frank Welker, who would go on to become the voice of Megatron and countless other characters, actually modeled Dynomutt's glitchy vocal style after malfunctioning vending machines. He'd improvise squeaks, pops, and robotic stutters into his lines live in the studio, and while Dynomutt brought robotic mayhem to superhero crime fighting, Hanna-Barbera wasn't done remixing genres. Next, they took the prehistoric past and slammed it into the feminist crime drama trend of the late 70s. How is that even possible?
Your bike can have the cycle sound with raw power. Raw power, the motorcycle sound from Ideal.
Imagine Charlie's Angels, but with a twist. A caveman thawed from a block of ice joins a trio of teenage detectives to solve mysteries. That's Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels for you. Premiering in 1977, this show gave us Captain Caveman, or Cavey, a club-wielding Neanderthal with a penchant for yelling Oonga Boonga and pulling improbable objects from his fur. The Teen Angels, Brenda, Taffy, and Dee Dee, were clearly inspired by the crime-solving female trios of the time, adding a touch of girl power to the mix. Together they tackled bizarre cases with Cavey's prehistoric methods, often clashing with modern investigative techniques. Voiced by the legendary Mel Blanc, Captain America's guttural exclamations became iconic, even if they didn't make much sense. The show's blend of slapstick humor and mystery solving made it a hit, running until 1980 and cementing Cavey's place in cartoon history. Captain Caveman was originally supposed to be a member of the Flintstones universe. His design and prehistoric theme were lifted from earlier concepts for a Flintstone cousin type of character, but instead, he was spun off into his own Scooby-Doo style mystery show to appeal to the success of Charlie's Angels. From frozen cavemen yelling Oonga Boonga to teams of talking animals solving mysteries, Hanna-Barbera knew how to repackage a formula. But what if you took all these characters, from Scooby-Doo to Yogi, and threw them into a single show? Welcome to the Cartoon Olympics you forgot even existed.
It's the hilarity. This is it, sports fans. Participants even. Television's greatest array of stars. Laff-A-Lympics.
Take the Olympics, add a dash of wacky races, remember that, mix in a plethora of Hanna Barbera characters, and you get Laff-A-Lympics. Debuting in 1977, this ambitious crossover featured three teams: the Scooby-Doobies, the Yogi-Yahooies, and the Really Rottens, competing in wacky events around the globe. The Scooby-Doobies included characters like Scooby-Doo and Blue Falcon, while the Yogi-Yahooies boasted Yogi Bear and Huckleberry Hound. The Really Rottens, which were the best, true to their name, were the perennial cheaters, always scheming to win by dishonest means. Each episode transported viewers to exotic locations. There, the teams faced off in absurd challenges. The show's format parodied sports broadcasts, complete with commentary and on-the-spot interviews, adding to the comedic effect. While it only ran for 2 seasons, Laff-A-Lympics was a fan favorite, showcasing the vast Hanna-Barbera universe in a way that hadn't been done before. It was the ultimate cartoon crossover event of its time. But due to licensing issues, several popular Hanna-Barbera characters like Fred Flintstone and George Jetson were intentionally left out of Laff-A-Lympics because their inclusion would have required separate rights negotiations. Even though they were owned by the same studios, even Hanna-Barbera had red tape, and we know the Jetsons would have taken every event. Speaking of team-ups, the only thing wilder than Yogi Bear competing against Captain Caveman is an entire trio of bears moonlighting as garbage men with CB radios.
And it's up to Defender to save them. Defender, a great ATARI game.
Have you played Defender? It's the newest of the smash hit home video games that just keep coming, only from ATARI.
He's better than me. Have you played ATARI today?
It's the CB Bears.
In an era obsessed with CB radios and trucking culture, Hanna-Barbera introduced CB Bears in 1977. This show featured 3 bears, Hustle, Boogie, and Bump, who under the guise of garbage collectors solved mysteries communicated to them via CB radio by an unseen dispatcher named Charlie. Riding around in their talking trash truck, the bears tackled cases that often parodied popular TV shows and movies of the time. The show was part of an anthology series that included other segments like Blast Off Buzzard and Hey, It's the King, but the bears were the main attraction. The use of CB lingo and the trucking theme tapped into the cultural zeitgeist of the late 70s, making the show resonate with audiences familiar with that fad. However, it only lasted for 1 season, leaving behind a legacy as one of the more peculiar entries in Hanna-Barbera's catalog. The character voices in CB Bears was directly based on the comedic stylings of the Three Stooges. Hustle, Boogie, and Bump were designed to mimic Moe, Larry, and Curly's dynamic. They were repackaged in fuzzy truck-driving bear form with CB radios and 1970s lingo. Hanna-Barbera clearly had a thing for talking vehicles and anthropomorphic animal detectives. But what happens when your lead character isn't a bear or even a thing with bones? Time to stretch your memory, literally.
You know, I've been a beer drinker for a bunch of years. Like you, I've seen a lot of beer commercials. There's one beer that people loved before it was even advertised. People thought it was different, special. It's the product people love, not the hoopla. COORS is the one.
It's the new Shmoo, the incredible new Shmoo.
Alright, let's get weird. The new Schmoo took a character from the 1940s satirical comic strip and asked, what if this shape-shifting blob helped teens solve crimes? And because it was 1979 and no idea was too odd, Hanna-Barbera answered with an enthusiastic, hell yeah. Schmoo, yeah, just Schmoo was a white jelly bean-shaped creature who could morph into anything. Car, done. Ladder, super easy. Parachute, no problem. He didn't talk so much as squeak adorably, but his expressive face and go-with-the-flow personality made him a lovable sidekick. The human cast included a group of teen reporters, Mickey, Nita, and Billy Joe. They roamed the country in search of front-page stories and stumbled into capers that only a morphine marshmallow could solve. The mysteries weren't groundbreaking, but the concept was so weird it kinda didn't matter. And like many Hanna-Barbera characters, Shmoo couldn't be contained. He crossed over into Fred and Barney Meets the Shmoo, bringing his blob-based antics into the Stone Age in a movie that defies both science and continuity. The show only lasted one season, but it left behind a gelatinous footprint in the minds of Gen X kids who couldn't explain what a Shmoo was, but they knew they liked it and then knew it when they saw it. The show was produced during a wave of blob-like cartoon sidekick popularity, but the new Shmoo was technically the second animated version of this character. The first was a surreal 1950s cartoon that never made it past test animation reels due to Shmoo's then controversial origin and Lil Abner as a symbol of anti-capitalist satire. That seems too deep for a cartoon. Blob sidekick's not wild enough, that's fine. Let's close out with basketball legends who gained superpowers and saved the world between slam dunks. Because logic left the building in 1979.
They stole the plans!
Introducing the Knight Rider 2000 pedal car. Your kid can pretend he's Michael Knight, crime fighter. It's got real flashing sensor lights and a real voice for kids.
I'm programmed to help you on all adventures. Activate the turbo boost immediately. Congratulations.
Stop!
Mission is complete.
Knight Rider 2000 pedal car.
Call me Kid.
If you thought the Harlem Globetrotters were impressive on the court, while on the Super Globetrotters they had secret identities, wore capes, and used superpowers to fight evil. That's right, America's favorite exhibition basketball team also doubled as a superhero squad, because why the heck not? Thank you, Hanna Barbera. Liquid Man could transform into water, Spaghetti Man stretched his limbs like pasta, Multi-Man cloned himself at will, Gizmo Man had a chest full of mechanical contraptions, and then there was Super Sphere, who literally just turned into a basketball. Not even kidding. Each episode featured the team getting called into action by a floating computerized head, then battling a villain of the week, usually someone with a pun-based name like Facelift or Dr. Schmoo, before wrapping up things with a little hoops magic. As with most late 70s Hanna-Barbera efforts, it was a mix of superhero parody, slapstick action, and occasional public service messages buried under a mountain of nonsense. They ran only 13 episodes, but boy did it go hard while it lasted. Culturally, this was the ultimate blending of sports idol worship, superhero hype, and Saturday morning surrealism. It made no sense, but it didn't need to. It was loud, it was proud, and gloriously weird. Only two of the Super Globetrotters' superhero identities, Liquid Man and Spaghetti Man, were based on real-life Globetrotter players. The other three were created entirely by Hanna-Barbera's writers to pad out the team, despite none of them ever stepping foot on a basketball court in real life. These weren't your highbrow animation masterpieces. They were gonzo genre-hopping experiments born of a studio that knew how to capture the restless, sugar-rush imaginations of Gen X kids. And for all their recycled frames and bizarre premises, they stuck with us. Maybe it was the catchy theme songs, or maybe it was the characters you still think about when you see a blob or hear a CB radio. Or hell, maybe it was just the magic of that Saturday morning moment when anything could happen and usually did. From Dynomutt's malfunctioning heroics to the Super Globetrotters' slam dunk justice, these shows are more than cartoons. They were proof that weirdness could be fun, flaws could be charming, and sometimes the best way to tell a story was to throw logic out of the window and just let it ride. Whether you watch these shows religiously or just caught them in syndication, they left a lasting impression. Hanna-Barbera didn't just shape a generation's viewing habits, they rewired our collective cartoon-loving brains. So now I wanted to hear from you, and which one of these 70s Hanna-Barbera cartoons blew your mind as a kid? Which one are you convinced you daydreamed, and if they rebooted one today, which would you absolutely watch out of sheer curiosity? Drop it all in the comments, like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next deep dive into Gen X nostalgia. And remember, doesn't have to make sense to be unforgettable. Stay cool, everybody.